I got the phone call the other night. It was from my cousin Larry. Larry's 10 years older than me, and he's been like an older brother to me that I never had. It was Larry who took me to the ball diamond behind my first elementary school and hit ground balls to me to help me learn how to field ground balls in baseball as a kid. It was Larry on a trip to see his brother in Virginia who pulled one of the meanest tricks I've ever had pulled on me. That's right, I can't talk about it on this video, but that sorry dude knows what he did that night when we had to sleep together in John Roberts' house in Norfolk, Virginia. Larry had called me the other night to give me the latest on his mother, whom I have affectionately known all my life as Aunt Ruth. Aunt Ruth is my mother's sister. Aunt Ruth had married Uncle Otis when she was 15 years old. Can you believe that? We weren't sure if that was going to work out. They were only married 50 plus years when Uncle Otis went to be with the Lord. They lived in a house right behind my grandparents, Papa John and Ma Ballard, her mother and father. As a little boy, I guess I was so mean. There's no way you'd believe that, I know, but my mom and dad used to ship me off to Uncle Otis's and Aunt Ruth's all the time. To tell you the truth, I can remember as a little boy begging to stay at Uncle Otis and Aunt Ruth's house overnight. I can still see Uncle Otis' picture in his Marine suit hanging in the house. I can still see us sitting in the backyard around the table in the swing. They were simple people. Aunt Ruth worked at Spartan Mills, the quintessential Southern cotton mill that was within walking distance of their home. I've sat in the car many times with Uncle Otis after he's driven her to work and waited in hopes that she might get off today and come back walking down that ramp and we'd go back home. That would be pretty cool because maybe Aunt Ruth would make some more homemade biscuits. She did make the best homemade biscuits known to mankind. I'm 56 years old and I can still vividly see myself stretching up into that little kitchen enclosed shelf to get my hands on those biscuits before Larry did. Aunt Ruth and Uncle Otis finally moved away from the village into their own house, some distance from Papa John, my grandfather. It was in that house that I sat with Aunt Ruth and Uncle Otis and watched the United States put a man on the moon for the first time. It was in that house that I sat with the two of them and watched as he took that giant step for mankind on the surface of the moon. In that same house, I watched Aunt Ruth bury her other two sons, John Robert and David. It's hard on a parent to bury their children. It was in that same house I watched her bury her husband, who had built his entire life around her and every need she ever had. She still didn't even have a driving license. She didn't need one. Otis will take me, she would say. They were literally joined at the hip. Mostly, though, I remember Aunt Ruth as my Sunday school teacher. She's the first Bible teacher that I can recall in my mind. She taught me in the beginners Sunday school class. Then when I moved up to the primary, she moved up too. When I went into the juniors class, she was the juniors class teacher. In my childhood, I can only remember two Sunday school teachers. And no, I didn't miss Sunday school one Sunday until I was over 40 years old. I had Aunt Ruth and Buzzy Crow. She helped me to memorize my first Bible verse. Follow me and I will make you fishers of men. Aunt Ruth has been sick for some time now. She's been in a nursing home. I've never gone back to my hometown, Spartanburg, South Carolina, without going to see her. I'll walk in and she will say, "There's Jackie." Oh yeah, you weren't supposed to know about that name, were you? She'd say, "There's Jackie, my other son." She claimed that I was her fourth son. I guess a guy's pretty lucky if two women want to claim to be mama. For me, Aunt Ruth is an aunt, but she's so much more. She is the epitome of what a wife and a mother is supposed to be. She is a Proverbs 31 woman. She lived for her husband, for her kids, and her family. But most of all, she lived for God. I got the call because her time is short. They've called hospice in to take care of her needs. My cousin asked me if I would do the funeral, along with one of her grandsons who's a preacher too. It'll be one of the greatest honors of my life to help conduct her funeral. In one way, it'll be one of the hardest things I've ever done, at least emotionally. However, spiritually, it may be the easiest funeral I've ever done in my life. Heaven comes as a result of God's grace, and that's the only way any of us get in. Yet, in my mind, Aunt Ruth will have a front row seat. As I think about her this morning, I think about what a great gift she is to me and to all of our family. I am reminded of the verse in 2 Timothy where Paul told Timothy how blessed he was. He wrote in 2 Timothy 1:5, Timothy, I remember your genuine faith, for you share the faith that first filled your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice. And I know that same faith continues strong in you. Timothy became the man he was because of the faith of these two women in his life. I'm one of those men who's fortunate enough to have had some people in my life like that. Aunt Ruth is definitely one of those. Earth will be a little more empty because of her departure. But for me, heaven will be a little bit closer. Most of that generation of my family is now on the other side. I can only imagine the reunion of those precious people as they gather to share eternity together in the presence of Jesus. For me, getting to heaven will be about seeing Jesus and about seeing them. Thank you for listening to me meander today regarding my family. You may wonder what kind of devotion this is since it's so personal. But as always, it's a reflection about what I'm going through. Today, please reflect on your own family. Cherish those you love. Thank God for the precious memories you have. If your past is not filled with those kind of memories, then make some for those who will follow you. I am more determined today to leave behind me a legacy of faith and love and devotion for my family and for my children to follow. I'll never be able to fill the giant footsteps of people like my Aunt Ruth, but I can make some footsteps of my own for others to follow. One of my favorite songs has these words in it. May those who come behind us find us faithful. May the footprints that we leave lead them to believe, and the lives we live inspire them to obey. Here's a great thought for you today. Leave footprints behind you that will inspire others. Here's a great prayer for today. God, help me to live my life in such a way that inspire and motivate others to live, love, and make the world a better place to live. God bless you as you trail your own path.